Hi everyone, my name's Sarah and this is Kat. And Kat, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah. So my name's Kat Harville. I'm a junior at Belmont University, and I'm actually a double major in songwriting and music business. So
Cool. Okay. So first thing is like when did you start songwriting and like how did that all come about and stuff?
yeah, so it's actually really funny because I've been writing since like second grade, which sounds so funny to say because obviously the songs were like terrible and like I could barely play an instrument, and I was just like this weird kid that would go in my room and like write songs and notebooks. And it's so funny to look back now on like the drama of like elementary school that I was writing about. But yeah, it's just always been something that I've loved to do. Writing is like definitely my first love and biggest passion. So it's awesome to be able to study it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I didn't even know songwriting was like an option for a major until like junior year of high school. And I was like, Mom, I do not want to go to college. Like all I want to do is write songs. And like I'm the same.
Yes.
I wrote since I was younger. I used to like make like little like stories and stuff when I was younger because I was like, I want to be an author. And yeah, so when I found out Belmont had like a major for that, I was like, this is perfect. I was like, I'm set now.
Same. It was so crazy. I'll never forget like visiting for the first time and like finding out about this program. Like there is just nothing like it. It's so cool that we get to go to school for it.
Yeah, definitely. So like what drew you into, because you kind of said like how you got started, but like what about songwriting kind of drew you in enough to like be like, I want to major in this, I want to have a career in this?
Yeah, I've always been okay. I have like very conflicting sides of my personality because I have like this creative side where like I just want to make things all the time and like that's what makes me happy. But I also have this side of me that's like very type A, like very much like practical. So it was kind of a hard decision. Like I almost didn't even apply for the songwriting program, and my parents were like, "No, you have to. Like you're being dumb." So once I got into that, that was like a really big confidence boost for me. But it's definitely been like a process, like over these past few years, like fighting those insecurities and like reminding myself like why I'm in the program in the first place and like that this is what I want to do. I just know that like a 9 to 5 desk job would not would not make me happy, and like there's just nothing else in the world that I'm as passionate about as writing. So yeah, I would just be so happy if I got to do it forever.
No, definitely. I can definitely relate to like the whole like logical side and then the side
Yeah.
I want to be like creative and like do whatever I want to make me happy. And then the other side of brain's like, you need to do something that you can live off of. And I'm like, oh no, like I don't want to think about that. And like the longest time I was like, I need to like just major in something like biology and like just do that so I can
Yes.
do something in medicine or whatever, and then I can just do songwriting on the side. But then like the more I thought about it, I was like, I cannot imagine like giving up this and like not having this is like something I do every day enough to like where it's just a hobby, like would make me just sad, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've so been there like the past few years. Like I've been interning at publishing companies, and like in the back of my head that was always kind of a backup plan, like, oh, maybe I'll just do the business side of things. And like that's why I got a business degree too. Well, I'm in the process of it, but yeah, really like this year has been the year where I'm like, you know what, like screw that, like I'm going for it, like this is what I love and I don't want to do anything else. So
It makes me so happy to like hear that from you. And also like I think it's so encouraging to everyone else, like to know that like it's okay to like go through those doubtful moments. Cause I think sometimes people are like, if this isn't something like you want 100%, like and you can't put 100% into it, then just don't even think about doing it as a career. And I've heard that from people. And then I'm like, but am I not allowed to have doubts and like be back and forth,
yeah.
like experiment? Because I feel like that's a part of being like an artist is like that you do overthink things, and that's a part of like
Oh
where I
yeah.
get inspiration from. I'm sure you relate to that and just like doubting things, and especially being at Belmont. Like when I came last year, because I'm a sophomore, so like last year when I first came, I had never been surrounded by so many other talented people, and so it was
Yes.
like so overwhelming. I was like, I don't even belong. Like, how did I get into the school?
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't understand why you guys let me in. And I felt so intimidated, and I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I want to give up. I was like, Mom, I want to go back home.
Dude, me too, girl. Like I that was such a culture shock. I'll never forget. And I think that was such a big reason why like I had all those doubts. Like, it's so easy to compare yourself, and you're so right. Like, so many people tell you, like, you gotta want it so bad, like, right off the bat, but no one talks about, like, how insecure songwriters are, like, about their songs. Like, everyone that I've talked to, like, even, like, successful people I know, like, I feel like everyone goes through that, like, imposter syndrome. It's funny.
No, it is. And like you said, I really, because like all my roommates, as you know, are like musicians and songwriters.
Yeah.
And so we've all talked about it and like it's very common. But then like still at the end of the night when I'm by myself, I'm like, I'm the only one who feels this way. I was like, I can't no one knows how much I'm just struggling with this right now.
Yes. Yes, I feel you.
Yeah, music, it's tough, but like it's worth it, and that's why we're talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
So when did you know that you like wanted to like when was I guess you kind of said this, but like was there a distinct moment that you were just like because you said like now you can't imagine ever not doing songwriting. But was there like
Yeah.
a moment even like within this year that you're like, well, like what made you think like I want to dedicate now this time to like producing a song and making a single and like really trying to put my foot into the industry and like make it as an artist?
Yeah, I think, I think this past year, like, was really transformative for a lot of people. Just for like the sheer fact that I feel like it really like amplified like what is important to everyone. And I think I just like had this moment where I was like, you know what? Like, life is short. Like, you never know what's around the corner. So why waste time like making excuses for yourself almost? And I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, but like I'm definitely my worst enemy and my worst critic when it comes to anything that I do. And for the longest time, like I think I was holding myself back from making music and like putting stuff out there. Like I've always been a writer, always loved that, but like always felt more comfortable like writing songs in my bedroom and wasn't really sure that I'd want to ever like release something for myself. But yeah, I think this year as a whole just really like showed me that it's low stakes. Like, if you're doing something you love, then do it. Like, if someone's judging you, then like that's on them for taking the time out of their day to judge you. Like, it's just worth it. Yeah. So that's been definitely this year. The whole has like really changed my perspective on a lot of things. So
I definitely think it's changed like everyone's perspective, especially I think in the music industry, everything having to kind of go on that hold, which in kind of in some way now we have so much good music coming out because everyone had that time to put aside and like generally write and have nothing to do but write because studios
yeah,
were open and like you couldn't go anywhere. And even if you wanted to like meet up to do co-writing, you had to do it on Zoom. So like I think, and that for me has been such a different process. I'm sure you've probably experienced
yes,
having to like write on Zoom with people like during quarantine when I was home and I was like, this is like a new thing for me because I'm not very good at technology. So when things would pause, I was just like, I can't do this. I was like, I can't do this. But like, what's like your co-writing process now that I kind of brought that up? And like,
yeah.
what advice would you give to someone? Because the people watching this are gonna be like newer songwriters and stuff. What would your advice be to like for someone who's new at co-writing and kind of like how like you like to do it and I don't know like what you think like your advice would be?
Yeah, I think, oh man, I love co-writing because I think like the main reason I love it is it keeps me accountable. I think it's so easy, like especially when you're a college student, to just like get overwhelmed with like all your responsibilities and like not carve out that time in a week to like actually write. And that's been something that's been huge for me this year is I've kind of like gotten into a rhythm of like finding a few people that like I really trust and enjoy collaborating with and like scheduling out that time to write with them ahead of time. That's been like very beneficial for me. Also, I think that different people like bring different skills out of you like as a writer, and there's so many times where, like I've gone out of a write and I'm like, wow, like that is not something that I would have done on my own. And I think that's like such a cool like intimate thing to share with somebody. Like that experience of like writing a song with someone is just so unique. And yeah, I try to come into a write most days with a few ideas. I mean, it's not like an organized thing by any means, but I'll keep like note tabs of just like random song titles, like lines that I think of throughout the week. But yeah, there's definitely like no set process, but I find that it helps a lot of the time to come in like with a couple ideas that you're passionate about and kind of toss them around and like see what sticks. But yeah, I mean, I'd say just like first and foremost, like respectful to the person you're writing with is super important. Like I've had a couple experiences where it's like every idea is shot down, or like, oh, that line sucks, and like that, you don't want to do that. Like no one's gonna want to write with you if you treat your co-writer like that. So I really think it's important to just like be encouraging, like be unafraid to say something that sucks, because that's how you get to the best ideas. But
no, and I think something that like I know I've struggled with, I'm sure like you can relate, is like being afraid to like co-write with the new people, especially like when I moved to Nashville. Is like, oh, like how am I, like, is it weird to reach out to people? Because at home, like I maybe had like one person that was like, you're the only other writer I know here, so like it was easy, we had a relationship. And I think that for people, especially like people that are new to Nashville, like moving here, to like be able to reach out to people and not feel weird about it. But like the thing is, like when you're reached out to, like I've never been like offended or like I don't want to write with someone if they reach out to me. Like, and I don't think people realize that like the other person, the other side is very much probably wants to. And if they can't that week, it's usually because they actually are busy, not because they don't actually want to. And it's like okay to reach out a second time later the next week and be like, hey, like, do you still want to co-write? And it's like, it's okay. Not maybe after a couple times, like just stop. But you know, like yeah, I've had some instances where like some people were just like no, and I was just like, okay, I get it. Like we just won't co-write.
We're fine, we'll move on.
It's like I probably wouldn't have been a good co-write now anyways, at this point. Yeah, and I'm like, it's okay. But yeah, I think it's definitely like it's hard, especially I don't know like your opinion on this, but like I feel like songwriters tend to be a little bit more like in their head and like not introverted, but like they tend to really overthink things, like I kind of said earlier. And so when it comes to reaching out to people, it's like, oh, this is weird. Like even this whole internship thing, like having to interview people has been super like out of my comfort zone, because like I just am not someone who usually is like, I'm gonna like just reach out to random people and talk to them for like 30 minutes. So like it's been like a really weird but growing process. And so I think co-writing kind of forces you as an artist, like you said, to get out of your comfort zone and to like really just develop new relationships too, because like you said, now you have set people that you're comfortable with, that like when you have to write with them, you're not like anxious about it. You're like, this is great, like I get to bring them my raw real stuff and we can write about things that we both have experienced and we know the other person has been through. So
totally.
So one like last question I guess I would ask is like, what would your advice be to like just overall advice to be to like a new songwriter who's like kind of between the stage of like, do I want to do this as a career, and like just maybe giving some encouragement that you'd give to someone who's just really struggling with that back and forth? It might be like in high school deciding right now like whether or not they want to apply to a college or just not go to college and focus on it. Like any advice that you think you'd have for that?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is don't hold yourself back. Like I said before, like I know we're all guilty of this, but like I can be my biggest critic, and I know everyone can. And I mean, if you like really have a passion for something, I think that's enough. Like that's enough to say like this is worth pursuing. Like I said, like life is so short, and you just never know like what's around the corner. You never know what could happen. So if something lights you up, do it. Like why not? Why wouldn't you? I'd say just keep at it. The more you write, the better you get. Like the more I talk to people, the more that I've heard like it takes a million songs to get to a hit song, and a million bad songs. Like everybody, even the greatest songwriters ever write bad songs. So I would just say like if you have passion for it, like that's such a beautiful gift, and like there's not that many people that have that passion and do it.
No, definitely. And I think like something that like you said that really like stuck out is, first of all, I love how you said if something like lights you, like whatever, just like go for it and stuff. I feel like that's just such, I don't know, I love the way you said that. But also like I think kind of lost my train of thought for a second. I think like something that like when I think people struggle with is like writing bad songs and being okay writing bad songs. And I know I've talked to like people about this before, and they're like, oh, like if I'm not gonna write a good song like tonight, I'm just not gonna write. Like I just don't want to like waste my time writing a bad song. And I was like, but it's like the process of writing itself is just so good for the brain. And even like
Yeah.
like morning exercises of like maybe wake up and just journal something really quick down. Just jot down a thought
Mhm.
the first time you wake up or whatever. And so your brain kind of works like a songwriter throughout the day. It's something like my teacher told me one time, and like I've kind of
Yeah.
applied it through quarantine. Is like just writing down random things when I wake up for like 5 minutes straight, set a timer, and then I leave it there, go on with my day. And then when I get back at night, even if I have terrible ideas, just write. Just like, and like you said, like don't be afraid like to write a bad song. It's okay. And it's gonna take, like you said, a bunch of bad songs to get to a really good one.
Totally.
And I'm sure you can definitely relate to that. And like just having like nights where you're just like, I cannot write tonight. Like there's nothing good in me. Like sometimes when I've written
Yes.
stuff, it's so bad that I'm like, I can't believe I even call myself a songwriter and I just wrote something that cheesy and bad. And then, like, yeah, and I can go through that for like, I don't think people realize this too. It can last for like weeks on end. Where I'm like,
Yeah.
this is terrible. I'm like, I need to like, this is my sign to quit. I think God gave me my sign. I need to stop. And then like
Oh
one
my
random
God.
day, I'll be having just like a bad day and like write. I'm like, oh, that was kind of good. Never mind. I'm fine again.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally. I'm convinced songwriters are some of the most insecure people on the planet, and I just think it's because we like feel so much, and like we're so hyper aware of things, and like that includes ourselves, and it can be so hard. Like I think everyone goes through those things where it's like they write a song and 2 weeks later they're like, oh, that was terrible. Like even if you like it that day, like it doesn't matter. Like it's always changing. I think it's important to like, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like to have people in your life that ground you and that do support you, especially when those are like unbiased mentors and aren't, your mom or dad,
Yeah.
which like not to discount those relationships because that's huge too.
Mhm.
But that's been something that's been very, very helpful for me as well.
No, definitely. And I think that's something that like I really appreciate Belmont kind of giving us is like songwriting, professors that are like, I know like my one professor, I can send him things even when I don't have the class going on that semester, and he'll email me back with like advice and be like, oh, like fix this part, or like you need a bridge, or like get rid of that bridge. And like it's really nice to have like that unbiased opinion where he's just like giving me straight out like just things that like
Yeah.
opinions about it, but I know it's unbiased and it's not like, oh, like you might like, and he's also like, I don't know if you know Thomas Hutes is. He's a
Mm-mm.
professor. Well, he's very like the most unbiased person who I ever meet. I don't think he's ever like fully out been like, I love your song. He's always like, that was good. And it's just like, and
Oh
then
my
like, when you know you did good, you're like, he like said it was good, and you feel so good. But so like whenever I know he gives me like critiques or like good things, I'm always like, I know this is not coming from like a warm fuzzy place. I know you're kind of just saying it. And I was like, so
Yes.
good. Um, but yeah, that's something like you said, unbiased support systems are very important. And I think even having like surrounding yourself with other songwriters as well who like you guys can kind of give each other both. Like obviously when you are friends, it's hard to not be straight out. But I think it is possible to find people that you're close to who will be straight out and be like, honestly, I don't really like this song. Like
Mhm.
I think this part's great, but like I don't like it. And like you said before, like co-writing, there's nice ways to say it and nice ways not to. But I think you can still always
Sure.
point across that you don't like someone's song. And sometimes honestly things are opinion based, and like my mom has told me this before. She's like, some of the things that I think are terrible are, like really popular right now. And she's
Yeah.
like it's just opinion. She's like, but and she's like, some of the things I think are great are just not popular either right now. And so
Right.
I think it's great to always get like multiple opinions, kind of not like a whole group, but like maybe some from people that you're closer to, some from like other people, and just kind of like mix it in and be like, okay, is this worth recording and releasing?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, you're so right. Like it's so subjective. And my friend Edwin, actually, the one that I wrote this song I released and recorded it with, like that's something like he was constantly saying to me. He's like, you know what, Kat? Like some people don't even like pop music. Like some people aren't even gonna listen to your song like off the bat because of that, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
not everyone's gonna like everything you do, and I mean, honestly, I feel like most of like the best artists I know, like people love it or hate it. Like there's no in between.
That's
So yeah, I agree. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and like the fact is like I think you should be like proud of yourself. Like you released a song, and like I personally think it's great. But like you said, some people don't even like a genre of music, so even if it sounds great, they
Yeah.
won't even give it a chance to listen to. Because I know I'm not super country, And so when a country song is on the charts, it has to be like I won't listen to it unless like someone puts it in front of me. I listen to it, and then usually I'm like, oh, this is actually great, but I would have never just
Yeah,
picked it out of the blue off a playlist and played it. So yeah, but like
totally.
yeah, and I mean, you've been getting great, like I feel like feedback, and like I've heard so many people talking about your song so far, especially like in my house, and also like we're friends with the kids, boys.
Aw,
They've been saying great things about it too. But
that's so
yeah, so I don't
sweet.
know if you like want to play the song now, or maybe like give a little bit background what the song's about, or just like the writing process, and then like you can play it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so the song is called Role Models, and I wrote it a few months back with my friend Edwin, and we kind of just sat down, and he was like, "What do you want to write about? Like, you want to write for you today?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, I guess maybe." And I kind of just sat there, and I was like, "You know what? Like, I have always wanted to write a song about mental health,
Mhm.
but it's always like it's such a tough subject because I feel like it can either come off as like really cheesy or really sad."
Yeah.
And I just did not want to make a song that was either of those things. But I just wanted to make something that would make people feel less alone, would make people feel recognized, because it's something that I struggle with as well, and that's like been another like growing pain of this year is like learning how to be vulnerable and talk about mental illness with people in my life, and I just really want to encourage others to do that. So that's kind of the place that this came from. Thank you.
No, I love that you were like brave enough to put a song out that is so vulnerable. And like I also like I like saw like your post about it and like kind of talked about it and like some of your like posts like the slides you had whatever. And it's just so like cool to see people being more vulnerable and open about mental health because I don't think it's anything people talk about, which is weird because songwriters probably struggle with it more than the average person
Yeah,
because
yeah,
so much, but then we don't talk about it enough.
literally, yeah.
There's not enough songs about it. And so I'm always like, that doesn't make sense. So when I like heard your song or whatever, and like I read your thing, I was like, this is great. Like a songwriter actually writing about mental health. And like you said, like just trying to be the most vulnerable you can with it, but also not over like being cheesy or just making it too depressing. And I personally think you found a great balance with that. So
Thank you.
yeah. But if you want to like play a little bit of it for everyone or just play the whole thing. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Sarah.
Mhm.
I shall play on my keyboard. Can you hear?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I wake up every morning to a handful of pills. Try to drown the noise, phone screens and cheap thrills. Everyone else seems to be okay. I barely make it out of bed today. I'm so good at faking. No one knows that I'm breaking. Softer connection, craving infection. I look up to people who don't look like me. Where is the line between faking our lives? I know what I see is reality. All my role models are singing head. The talking about your demons doesn't get you head. Knowing that bottle's just a giant thing. God put his blood in me to insane. Picture perfect, you're so good and so good. All my role models are singing hey. I'm not gonna talk about it. Someone let me inside of their mind. I might have felt this alone inside. Spent so many years just holding the pain. Looking for someone to give it a name. We're all good at faking. No one shows it, they're breaking. All my role models are singing names. Talking about your demons that can get you pain. Knowing that bottle's just a giant thing. God put his better things, you're insane. Picture perfect, you're so good and so good. All my role models are singing names. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm sick of surface level words. I think we should talk about it till the midnight. I think we should talk about it. The I pretend it gets worse. I think we should talk about it. not gonna talk about it. I think we should talk. I think we should talk. I think we should talk about it.
So good. Oh,
thank you so much, Sarah.
no, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for taking time out of your Friday, like afternoon, to do it, because I know things are busy. But yeah, it meant so much.